A ton happening when it comes to gun laws, not just in Illinois, but across the country. Top headlines, of course, include the California Safe Places law that seems to be in legal limbo. So you're hearing a lot about that, but you've also got the ongoing issues with the National Rifle Association and the chief over there, Wayne LaPierre, stepping down at the end of this month. He's facing some civil fraud charges in New York, but clearly a lot of people having some mixed feelings about the NRA, especially considering all of the different litigation we've seen in Illinois. Not really coming from the National Rifle Association. It's coming from other groups like, the Federal Firearms Licensees of Illinois, the Illinois State Rifle Association, and even you got the Firearms Policy Council that has been suing the state of Illinois and other states. So has the significance of the National Rifle Association really waned recently? Because again, as you see in some of the headlines, Wayne LaPierre is stepping down, announced his resignation. Longtime leader, he's been there since 93 or something. NRA chief Wayne LaPierre announced his resignation ahead of trial. Reuters reporting that LaPierre head for New York graft trial after his resignation. So some people claiming victory, others saying good riddance, even some in the live chat saying about damn time. So interesting to see those comments. So those are some of the big news items when it comes to the Second Amendment, but I did want to share a couple of things here. Of course, we've got in Illinois litigation against the state's gun and magazine ban and registry ongoing. Despite the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals ruling on a preliminary injunction, they did issue their mandates to the district courts last week. So that mandate now in place, they can move forward with dealing with the merits of these things. And we've seen the merits, at least when it comes to scheduling conferences, being ready for later this week. Judge Stephen McGlynn in the Southern District, in a case that's challenging the gun and magazine ban and registry on Fifth Amendment grounds, he has ultimately said they're going to move forward with this. And you had the states try to delay a response to that Fifth Amendment argument. Judge McGlynn denied delaying that response and said that the state has to respond by the 19th of this month. But coming up on the 12th, later on this week, there will be a scheduling conference to talk about how they're going to proceed forward with this case on the merits of the Fifth Amendment arguments. So that's going to be interesting to watch. We'll bring that to you as best we can. Again, that's the 12th. What is that, Friday of this week? So we'll be watching that closely and keep you guys updated there. But something else I did want to share with you as well is kind of interesting. If you follow me on Twitter, you can also see I retweeted President Non-FUD, and he shared an interesting chart from the ATF, and it's the National Firearms Act registration weapons by state. And if you go to that actual document, you can see some fascinating things, and especially when you get through a lot of the other documentation on this. And this is an update from 2021. All right, so this is the ATF document from 2021. And what this really, I think, kind of highlights is something we heard from Todd Vandermeide several weeks ago when we saw the number of FOID card holders registering firearms in the state of Illinois. Even Todd Vandermeide, he had said that this is possibly because of those who are NFA registration requirees. They have to file, and comply with the laws. So if you look here, and we'll bring this up in some detail. Exhibit 8 from this document from the ATF, National Firearms Act registered weapons by state. And it shows in Illinois, there were, a total of 144,000 items, from short-barreled shotguns to short-barreled rifles to silencers to machine guns to destructive devices and any other weapon. And of course, you've got machine guns totaling 30,000. You've got destructive devices, about 103,000, and then short-barreled rifles, 10,000. So you could see here, 144,000 items that, at least in 2021, the ATF has. Now, the National Firearms Act regulates machine guns, and you always hear people, machine guns have been banned for a while. Well, they have a lot more regulations on them. I don't know all the hoops that certain people have to file, but you have to essentially register your fully automatic machine gun gun, if you own one, with the ATF. So those individuals, typically it could be federal firearms licensees. You've seen over in like Las Vegas and other states where people can rent a machine gun to shoot at a range. So you've got that. But what's fascinating, again, is to compare those numbers with the latest Illinois State Police statistics, with the numbers of individuals completing a disclosure, around 29,300. Total number of firearms disclosed, 68,900, with the total number of disclosures, 112,350. Now, I'm not suggesting that only those who are NFA compliant registered their fully automatic firearms with Illinois State Police, but if, again, you look at the numbers here, the total number of disclosures, 112,350, compared to the total number of different types of firearms, 144,000. This was in 2021 from the ATF. It does raise some interesting correlations, so to speak. So is that why we're seeing the firearm registration numbers that we're seeing, especially with the ongoing litigation? But what's also interesting is how the other media is reporting on this. The Chicago Sun-Times had an article on Friday. Most owners of, quote, assault weapons in Illinois appear not to have registered them as law requires. There are minimal consequences for failing to register, and whether the law is even enforced depends heavily on where you live and how authorities discover an unregistered gun. So you've got the article going on and quoting several individuals from state police to even those who own firearms. And one in particular, the Sun-Times talked to Roger Krall, owner of the retail store R Guns in Carpentersville. He said that he's registered none of his personal weapons, at least one firearm he owns, meeting the state's definition. So again, Krall telling the Sun-Times that they have not registered. And you've got others as well who are telling the Sun-Times kind of their thoughts on all of this. State police say decisions on how to enforce the Protect Illinois Communities Act will be up to each individual law enforcement and prosecutorial jurisdiction within Illinois. So that guidance has others saying, look at those sanctuary states, sanctuary counties, where they say this is a Second Amendment sanctuary. I know you've got the term sanctuary being used for migrants, but when it comes to the Second Amendment, you've got counties all across the state of Illinois that ultimately are saying, no, they're not going to enforce these types of gun bans. Even Robert Beavis from Law Weapons being quoted in the Sun-Times saying, basically be saying that you have an illegal weapon if you register it after the January 1st deadline. I personally wouldn't do it, Beavis said, and he does have his own kind of law locker that he's promoting to allow people to take their firearms and store them with law weapons. But others, including you got Dan Eldridge with Federal Firearms Licensees of Illinois. He just also is, very clear in the different types of information they're putting out, making sure that people know what's going on. But you've got just the myriad of concerns and questions about all of this. And still, even though you have the deadline come and gone, it's clear that people did not comply, and whether or not you have astonishing low registration numbers. So Max and Shooters, they have a blog post, how low is the compliance rate for the state's gun and magazine ban, and he writes that it appears that compliance with PICA was astonishingly low, much lower than already low rates of compliance in other states like New York and Connecticut. And here's their estimate. They break it down. There's 2.4 million FOID card holders in Illinois. It's a reasonable proxy for number of gun owners. Surveys of gun owners conducted by the Washington Post last year estimated 20% of gun owners own an AR-15 style rifle. The Washington Post article is behind a paywall, but you can find it in other ways. But other studies indicate as many as 30% of gun owners have an AR-15 style rifle. But it's important, I think, to note Illinois' gun and magazine ban isn't just about ARs or AKs. It's about, handguns that have a threaded barrel. It's about certain types of rifles that may not be ARs, but fit, different categories. It's about semi-automatic shotguns. So there's more than 170 different firearms named in the law. And then you've got the certain features that may be considered an assault rifle or an assault weapon. But back to Max and Shooter Sports blog post here. They go on to say there's no reason to presume that the Illinois rates of AR-15 owners differs from the national average. 20% of 2.4 million people is approximately 500,000 AR-15 owners. Again, that's just the AR-15s. Illinois State Police received affidavits for 29,357 individuals. And if so, we've been using the number 1.22% because that's, the percentage of those who have filed an affidavit compared to the total number of FOID card holders. So you've got, that coming out to about 1.22% of FOID card holders who have disclosed they have a banned item. But if you use some of these other numbers about the number of FOID card holders or gun owners in general who have an AR-15, just the AR-15, not the 170 other different types of firearms, and that number comes out to around, 5.9% compliance. But it goes on to say, but wait, the real compliance rate is lower because, again, we're talking about all these different types of firearms. A lot of shotguns, Ruger 10/22 rifles, some of the 30,000 NFA items in Illinois not owned by law enforcement or FFLs. So again, hinting at that ATF number. So they believe that, as much as they've sold in AR-15s and just, AR-style rifles, you've got to add hundreds of thousands to that. So we're now at 600,000 owners, they say. That makes the compliance rate about 4.2% compliance. So that's low. And these are all just different estimations because really we don't know the true scope of non-compliance. But clearly that compliance rate is very low. Governor J.B. Pritzker has yet to officially sound off on this. He has not had an official public event where the media can go and ask him questions. When that's going to happen, we'll be watching his daily schedule to see where that happens, but there's going to be a lot of different types of questions that are going to be provided to Governor J.B. Pritzker for when he does get back in front of the media. So that's just some of the latest analysis. Again, big dates coming up. On the 12th, you've got a scheduling conference dealing in the Southern District of Illinois with the Fifth Amendment argument against the state's gun and magazine ban. So we'll be watching for that, but plenty of other things going to be dropping in place as we watch all of this play out. Sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell as we go live each and every weekday morning here with Bishop on Air. All right. Follow me on X, follow me on Facebook, and again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here with YouTube. All right. Plenty more coming up here with Bishop on Air as always.